The module that you are currently enrolled in is ENG 1008, which is a programming module. Let me just share a bit on how the module will be run. There are 4 faculties that will be supporting the execution of this module. My name is Prof. Lee. I'm the module lead for this particular module. My contact details are given as here, my email as well as the phone number. Okay, Prof. Kui is the core module lead. She will be starting the lectures actually after I've done the intro. So how we have broken it up is that both of us will be running the lectures. Prof. Kui will be doing it from week 1 to week 5. I will start from week 6 all the way towards until week 12. Week 13, we will all come back for a revision before you go into the week 14, which is the exam week. In parallel, there are 4 programs that are using or will be, students are actually studying this particular module. So what we have done is that I will take care of the EPE students, Prof. Kui will take care of the SBE students, Prof. Siva will take care of the EDE students, as well as Prof. Sabu will take care of the ESE students. So you notice here there are 4 programs. Individually, your program, you all will be having one of the faculty. So for EP students, you'll be seeing me from week 1 all the way until week 13 for the labs. But for the lectures itself, there will be 2 of us that will running it. Prof. Kui for the first 5 weeks, I'll take over from then. And in the last week, we'll both come back for the revision lecture. So in terms of the running of it, you will see 2 persons. One will be, of course, the faculty doing the online sessions, which is going to be on Monday, 12 to 3 p.m. In addition to that, every week you will have a lab session that will be run at the program level, where individual faculty will take care of you from the first week right until the end. So there's going to be a continuity in terms of the lab sessions, but for lectures, we will have primarily 2 of us managing this particular module. So I will take care of the EP students, plus also the second half of the lectures. Prof. Kui will take care of the SBE students, plus the first 5 weeks of the lectures. Prof. Siva, the EDE students, and Prof. Sabu, the ESE students. So that's how we will be running this, and all our contact details are available on this page here. Okay, let's go into a bit more specific details, what we want you all to achieve upon going through this module. So this module is not purely just coding. We want you to approach basically a problem-solving type of mindset. So in terms of the learning outcome, we want you to, given a problem statement, be able to analyze the problem and design algorithms to solve problems. So when we say algorithms here, we are not referring to the code itself, but actually the steps that you want to do. So similar like baking, if you have the recipe, then that recipe constitutes the algorithm. So we want you to be able to look at the problem at a much higher level and think of solutions to solve the problem. Of course, when you want to implement it, then this solution will be using C as the language. And through that process, you will learn how to write your code, how to test your code and do debugging, which is a very normal process. So every code that we write, there will be some errors inside. Then we will need to debug it and then make sure that the program can run as required. After you have gone through this tool, basically we need to then look in detail. So 3 and 4 actually are the course outline, where in this course, you learn how to declare variables, how to do arithmetic operations, so plus, minus, divide, for example, logical operations where you have A and B, A or B type of expressions, implement control structures whereby you have conditional statements like if today is raining, then I will bring an umbrella. So that kind of if statement implementation, how we can repeat, meaning that if I need to repeat this 10 times, how do I write code to implement it? Input output means that you can actually have data coming in from a text file, an Excel file, reading into your program for execution, and you have results being printed out, which will be the output. We also look at file processing, where you're able to open a file to read data in. Given that you do not want to be typing data into your code, into a program, you actually have data that could be saved from let's say a sensor. You can read the data in from that sensor itself. In addition to the more foundation, we will then go a bit more into functions, where you're able to write a function to implement a specific requirement, arrays to store data, and pointers. So 3 and 4 basically will be the different parts of C programming that you'll be learning that's able to implement the solution that you are thinking of in number 2 and number 1. In the last part, where this module differs a bit from normal Infocom type of ICT type of C programming, is that we want you all to be able to look at how you are able to write C program to access and control hardware. Meaning that you're going beyond just like a web-based solution. You're looking at that you have a microcontroller, you want to implement it. So if you look at your home, a setup box, your router at home that gives you the broadband internet access, all these are actually hardware whereby there are actually codes that are written for it. So what we'll be learning in this module is how can you write code that could control hardware to fulfill a certain requirement. So that basically is the learning outcome that we want you all to achieve. Okay, at this point, let me just pause for a while. Any questions for anyone regarding to the different points that were raised? If you have any query, you can unmute yourself. You can then ask a question, or there is a chat function whereby you can actually type in your query anytime during the lecture, and we will then respond to those queries through the chat also. So at this point, any questions for anyone? I guess not. It's just first day of class. So let's move on. This is the course outline in terms of by weeks, how we'll be running the course. So we are now in week 1, where a lot of the introduction, the C programming basics will be covered. Next week, things get a bit more interesting because you go into algorithms, whereby you learn, let's say, for example, using a flow chart or pseudocode to be able to come out with the steps that you want to do to implement your solution. Then we will go into the structured programming development, which would take a look into how you should write your code in a structured way instead of having code that basically don't follow a certain program flow. We will then go into the program control portion, which talk about the conditional statements like if-else statements, for loop, while loop, for example. Before you look at week 5, where you look at input-output, where you can read data in or have output given in a certain format that is easy for the user to see. In week 6 itself, we will start functions, followed by arrays, then pointers, and that will cover basically the next 4 weeks. Week 6. So some of y'all may ask, what happens to week 7? In SIT, week 7 is they consider your trimester break. So in week 7, there are no formal lectures, but you're meant to do catch up on your classes. There could be some makeup classes that could be scheduled in week 7, but normally week 7 are kept clear for students to actually do a catch up for things that are covered in the first 6 weeks. So 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then when we come to week 11 itself, we will finish off pointers, take a look at microcontrollers and how we can read data through files. Before we have week 12, where we look at characters and string processing. And week 13 is what I've mentioned, the joint revision that we'll be doing to run through the entire course itself. So for this module, similar to other modules like your Engineering Mathematics 1, we run a 13-week course. Week 1 to 6, week 7 is a trimester break, 8 to 13. Now, the important question will then come in is that, what are the textbooks or reference books you need to have? So for programming, essentially, a lot of the resources are available on the web. We are using this See How to Program book as the reference, but our lecture materials, there are enough materials there for you to follow through with the course. So you may not need to purchase the textbook. It's also available in the library. As well as on the internet, there's a lot of resources that talks about C programming in general. This slide here, I need all of you to pay straight attention, because this is how this module will be assessed. When I talk about assess, means how will your final grade be computed? For this Engineering ENG 108 programming, it consists of 2 main components. Continuous assessment is 70%. Final exam is 30%. So this module has a final exam in week 14. it is a pen and pencil type of test. You will come to campus, go for the exam itself, and that will constitute 30% in week 14. Now, from week 1 to week 13, there are continuous assessment being carried out, which constitutes 70%. So at the end, these two grades added together will give you the final grade for this particular module. For the CA of 70%, how it is broken up is actually two major components. First, there's a quiz around week 3 to week 5, around 5%. Class test in week 11, 20%. So 5 plus 20 is 25%. So for the class test itself, it is fixed in week 11. If you look at your timetable, there will be a specific date. If I'm not wrong, I think it's a Wednesday evening that the class test has been scheduled. So this particular one is a common time slot for all the programming students. So students from the 4 programs will take this class test at the same time at different venues, and that will constitute 20%. The quiz will run at the program level. This will be 5%. So 5 plus 20 gives you 25%. There will be projects and lab assignments that you'll be doing. So when we talk about lab assignments, it could be that in the lab, certain weeks you are asked to submit like a homework that will be graded, followed by projects that in a project group, you'll be submitting your final product, which will be a report. There could be the code itself, and there could also be presentations that you may need to carry out. So all this added up together is 45%. So if everything works correctly, 45% for your assignments and projects, 25% for quizzes and class tests, that's 70%, plus a final exam 30%, that will be 100% for the grade itself. The exam is a closed book, meaning that you are not allowed to access the internet. You will not have access to your tablet, your PC, your laptop. Everything will be based on the question paper. There will be questions asked. Some of it could be you are finding errors in the code. Some cases you are writing in code, for example. Assessment-wise, class test is fixed. If you look at your timetable, week 11, let me just do a quick check of it, just to make sure that we are on the same timing. So for week 11 will be on the 12th of November. Week 11, 12th November, 6 to 8 p.m. I will update these slides to indicate clearly the week 11 assessment. For the quiz itself, in this week, when you attend your labs, your individual lab will update you how this quiz will be executed. For projects and lab assignments, the lab assignments basically will follow your weekly schedule for your labs, meaning that for some of your labs are on Tuesday, some on Wednesday morning, some on Friday afternoon. Then the projects itself will normally be released out depending on the schedule. Let's say some will be towards the end of the first half. The second project will be towards the end of the second half, and you'll be given 2 to 3 weeks to complete it. Is the exam date finalized? No. The exam is in week 14, but the actual day when it will run is not finalized yet. RO will be sending this out towards the second half of the trimester, where the dates will be finalized. So definitely week 14, there will be one of the either morning across the midday or the evening, you will have one exam to sit for this particular module. Any other questions? So very important, you have an exam 30%, CA 70%, broken down by more type of theory type of assessments, quiz and class tests, and projects where you work in groups and labs assignments will total 45%. So total will be 30 plus 25 plus 45 is 100%. Okay. Any other questions? If not, exam will cover everything that we go through. So essentially, everything in this course, all this will be covered in the final exam. Any other questions? Okay, hardware stuff will not be covered for the final exam because this is hands-on. So under the microcontroller and week 11, you will be doing a hardware lab. So you will be programming onto the hardware for it to do a certain function. So that part of it will not be within the scope. Don't worry too much. Towards week 12, week 13, we will be actually going in detail the exam scope itself. And that basically is to update you exactly what will be tested in week 14. Any other questions? No, let me just move on. think that should be the last slide. Oh, okay, so yes. So in terms of how the different sessions are run, our lecture is 12 to 3. So I know most of y'all have a 9 to 11 Maths 1 Zoom call. So between 11 to 12, you need to have your lunch break. Then we will start the 12 to 3 session as what we are doing today. Except that in the Zoom session, we'll be going through the theory concept and also illustrating by example, where we actually do some programming examples for you to see how we actually implement those concepts. Okay, a bit of advance notice. Week 8, when you come back from your trimester break, is a public holiday. The makeup Zoom session is scheduled on week 6, Wednesday, 2 to 5 p.m., which means that in week 6, when I take over the lecture, I will see you 2 afternoons, on Monday, week 6, and on the Wednesday of week 6. So this is the slight change, because after week 6, you have your break. When you come back on week 8, the Monday is a holiday, so you will not have any more lectures for that particular week. So we need to run the lecture in advance so that week 8, when you come back, we can still execute the labs as required. If only for ED students, which I will remind you all in week 8 itself, week 6 and week 6 itself, in week 9 and 10 on the Monday, one of the lab groups, there will be a clash with this programming lecture. You have a lab starting from 2 to 6, if I'm not wrong. So what I will work on is that for week 9 and 10, our lectures are still running for everyone, just that we will run it up to about 1:45, then we have a break. Y'all will then, the ED students, P1 group will then go for your lab. The rest go for your short break, then we will continue. So what happens to the P1 group, because they miss out the later part, I will arrange additional sessions for this group of students in week 9 and 10 on a Tuesday around 2 to 4 p.m. to cover what they miss out towards the end of the Monday lecture. So Monday lectures is still running for everyone from start to end, just that for ED students, there is for one lab group, because of the scheduling, they will have a bit of they have to attend the physical lab in the afternoon. I will have additional sessions that I will work with them. But more important, applicable to all, will be the makeup in week 6, Wednesday, 2 to 5 p.m. Okay, lectures are Zoom, primarily because we have a very large group of students. We have about 300 plus students across the 4 programs. But labs are not Zoom sessions. They are face-to-face on campus. So for the sessions for the lab, if your lab is scheduled on a Tuesday, Wednesday morning, or Friday afternoon, it is a 2-hour block. You must come to campus to the designated room. The room itself is not a computer lab. It's actually what we call an ACE room. You will then work together with your fellow classmates in terms of running through the lab itself. So it's hands-on coding practice, where you will then look at your lab assignments, etc., on the labs itself. So labs are face-to-face on campus, and you will follow to your timetable which room you're supposed to go to. We are working on what we call BYOD, means bring your own device. You need to ensure that your laptop is already installed with the required software. Okay, any questions on the weekly schedules? Anyone? If not, let me just quickly change over to the Zoom, your course site, just to share with you where the informations are being shared. So this is your main programming website, where if you are in this Zoom session, means that you already clicked on the Zoom link. Notice on in terms of the content, if you click on content, the 2 main blocks of lecture materials are already populated. So week 1 to week 5, you'll see your material. Week 6 to 12, I will be populating later. Important is this tab under software installation. Under here, there are actually information, quick start guide on installing code blocks for Windows based. For Mac, you actually need to install Xcode, because the Mac OS is actually implemented in C. So they have a generic built-in compiler. So you don't need to install code blocks. You will actually be using Xcode in this case here. So this software installation, please do so before you start your lab session. Is attendance compulsory? Okay, so in terms of lectures, attendance is, we are not taking attendance. For the labs itself, we are also not really taking full attendance, meaning we don't need you all to sign in and sign out, for example. But I will give you a word of advice. This course itself is actually very hands-on. So just reading the lecture material may appear to be quite straightforward, but you'll find that you actually need to practice, and that's where the lab itself will be important. Okay, of course, if let's say on certain weeks you are not able to attend because of you have a medical appointment or you will fall sick, the session is actually recorded. So if you go under communication under Zoom meeting, currently this session is being recorded, so you'll be able to view some of the past recording on the Zoom cloud. At the same time, I will also be populating this recording under our lecture recording system, because some of you are taking modules that are not using Zoom. Then all the sessions, most of the sessions, especially your lectures, will be recorded in the background. And if you click on lecture recording, I will be setting up when I have the Zoom recording into here. So you'll be able to see, now of course there's nothing set up here, but there'll be a week 1 lecture, week 2 lecture that I'll be setting up for you all to see. So there's actually 2 ways that you are able to view your Zoom recording. So that, that covers the, wrong course again. Okay, so in terms of the lecture, we are all using this course site where your Zoom recording, your lecture materials are given. Under the 4 programs, EPE, SBE, ESE, and EDE, y'all will be having your individual course site for your labs. So when it comes to the Wednesday, Tuesday, or Friday lab, please go to this course site here where your lab details, assignments, projects will be shared with you. So this week when you attend the lab, we'll be following to whatever program you're in, and inside there will be instructions on how the lab will be executed. The content don't have software installation. So let me just go back again. The software installation is under, if you go under content, you see there's a tab software installation. Let me check whether is it hidden. Yeah, it's visible. So you click on here, you should be able to see it. Are you able to see that? Okay, if you have any problem, you drop me an email, then we can run through that with you. So this is under the main program website. I've reset up the content, the software installation. Your window. Yeah, so don't worry about the software version, because when we did the guide, the software version could be version 20, and that will be about 1 to 2 years ago. Currently, the new version is version 25. So you can install the latest version for the software. Okay, any other questions? If not, I will exit now, and I'll hand over the session to Prof. Kui. So Prof. Kui will be taking over the lesson from now, and I will see basically the EP students on Wednesday morning this week in the lab. But the rest of y'all, please attend your individual program labs, 2-hour block, and we will then continue through the course itself. Any questions? If not, then I will, Prof. Kui will take over. No, okay. So have a fun programming experience with us. It's going to be interesting, and I hope y'all will learn what is required for this module. Okay, thanks. Prof. Kui, you can share your slides.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. I will share my slide, and thank you for the introduction.
Yes.
I will take over from here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Student, give me a minute. I will share the slide. Actually, you can find the slide deck from Excel. Under content, week 1 to 5, you have 2 slides deck there. One is topic 0 and one is topic 1, which will be covered today. I will share the slide soon now. Give me a minute. See how I can bring it up. My Zoom. Where is my Zoom? Okay. Lost my Zoom already. Okay, my Zoom is here. Let me share the slide. Can you see my slide now? First of all, do you hear me clear? Is my voice clear to you, student?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, thank you. So my first time I changed to a new system, so thank you very much. So as I introduced before, I will take over. I will cover from topic 1 to topic 5, first half of the modules, and I hope that I will lay a very good foundation for you to move on to more complex concepts in the second half of the module. So before I start, let's first say some of the ground rules for the class. First of all, I want you to turn on your camera. I'm turning on my camera and hope to see your face also, so that I don't feel that I'm talking to myself alone for 2 hours or 3 hours. Thank you for that. Second, I need you to use your matriculated names. Please don't give a nickname, because we are in a professional setting, so I need to know your names. You may have a shorter form, but don't use your nickname or your student ID numbers, because I really cannot remember who is who from the student ID numbers. And you better keep your student ID number, not about secret, but don't disclose so often, all right? Next, I need you to mute your mic when you're not speaking, because sometimes we have background noise, and I don't know from where hole, so I cannot turn off, mute you instead, so I need you to mute yourself when you're not speaking. But please participate in the lecture actively and unmute your mic to share your idea. Okay, if your laptop doesn't have any webcam, it's okay, but your laptop have webcams, please do share your video, your camera, so that I can see that you are still there and you are not sleeping. If I feel the half of class is already sleeping, I will stop and have a break. And next thing is participate actively. I tend to call silence names, or camera off. So please participate actively, so that we can have effective sections together every week. Next thing, chat is for modules discussion, okay? Last year, I do see some of you start to say hi, hello to each other. It's very good to make new friends in a new environment, but please do it outside this room, because everything is recorded. The chat file also included in the recording later on. So I don't think you want your casual chat will be included, right? So chat will be reserved for module discussion, question and answer discussion, okay? And lastly, as Bob Lee said, if you notice, the lecture is recorded. It means that you can review it again, watch it again, can be like fast forward to the point that you are not very clear, but it doesn't mean that it is the only source that you can depend on for your lecture. I do encourage you to attend lectures and your labs at the same time, because it's very helpful for you to get along well with this module, especially for those that doesn't have any programming background. Okay, so I also know that some of you or most of you may have some prelim programming background. You may know some Python, some other language. My advice is it's good to have that initial starting point, but it's time for you to unlearn and relearn, because C is a bit different. All right, it's good to make some relevance like in inference, but it's time for you to unlearn and relearn programming from now, so that we can learn it in a more structured way, build a stronger foundation before you move on to other languages. Okay. Okay. I cannot attend the full durations, as I said. In the lecture, we don't take attendance. In my more program, SB program, we don't give points to attendance. Actually, we don't give marks to attendance. But particularly in my labs, I do have activity in class. I will share more details for my SBE program tomorrow. So it means that we will have some like bonus mark or some in-lab activities for you to demonstrate your contribution to the session. So do attend the lab. But it's up to you. If you find it very easy, you don't need to attend class, you don't need to attend lab, you still can get it A+. It's up to you. Feel free to do so. Okay? All right. Now let's get started with topic 1. In this topic, we will cover two topics, right? The first one is introduction to programming language in general, and second is introduction to C programming or the basics. Those are the very fundamental things for you to start to write a C program. All right. So here, the first part, what I need you to understand from this first part is understand the different layers of programming languages. Not all programming language are the same. They are different, and why we learn C. Second, we all need to understand the importance of C. That means that why do we need to learn C instead of Python, SQL, or MATLAB, or something else? And finally, what is a common development process for C programming? I pause here. I am talking too fast. Should I slow down? Oh, no, okay, so this pace is okay, right? I tend to talk fast, so please let me know if I'm talking too fast to you and if my voice is not very clear. So let's get started with programming languages. So in the layman term, I usually use a lot of layman terms in my lectures because I understand that some of you in the class doesn't have any background, programming backgrounds. So in the layman terms, to me, programming language is only another communication tool. Why? Because we use this to communicate to the machine. So in order to understand it clearer, I use analogy like our normal language, so like English or Malay or Mandarin. We use these language to communicate to each other so that we can understand ideas and talk. We can ask others to do things that we want. We can articulate what we learn, what we know, and then the major purpose is to avoid misunderstanding or misinterpretation. So in any language, if you notice, you start from English, Chinese, Mandarin, whatever. We need to learn first thing, vocabulary. What does it mean by hello? What does it mean by good morning? Then we also need to follow grammar structure as subject, verb, objects for English, but for French, the sequence may be different. So every language has different grammar structure. We need to follow that. And finally, in order to be good at any particular language, we need to practice. We cannot go at any language without practice. I need to do a lot of practice so that I can speak English and become a lecturer. And then in order to further extend our skill, we can use dictionary, we can use other resources. But the key thing here is practice. So for programming language, also the same. It is a way for us to communicate with the computer, to ask it to do something for us. We can use different language. So C is only one type of language. You can have C and a whole family of C. You have C++, C Sharp, and then we have VBA, Python, JavaScript, SQL, so many different languages. And all of them is for us to communicate with the computer so that it can do something for us. It can do some calculation, it can analyze a data set, it can bring some graph, it can do something for us. And the key thing for us to make sure that when we use programming language, that we make sure that the machine do what we want it to do. If we want it to print out something, it should print that out for us, not something else. And for any language or programming language, something in language, we have vocabulary. In programming language, we have keywords, we have structure and syntax. When we talk about syntax, it means that some grammar requirements are similar to a normal language. And similarly, for programming language, please do practice. When you read someone else's code, it's very easy for us to understand. When you read content book online, on ChatGPT, everything is very simple, very easy. Everything can be understood very fast, but when you put down your fingers and type, you don't know what to type because if you don't practice, you don't do that. So you need to do practice. And sometimes you need to do reverse engineering, means take someone else program and decode it to see what are the steps in between. And then in order for those that really want to understand more in depth of the language, you need to read documentation. Different language is developed differently. So in order to understand what is the something we call the black box behind the scenes, you need to understand the documentation. And of course, you are free to use any online resource, but you need to make sure that you are able to do the final exam. Final exam closed book, 30%. The class test is 20%, also closed book, pen and paper. So totally 50% of this class is paper-based closed book. All right. So if you just read some online and you don't do any practice, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can survive through this assessment or not. Okay. So key thing, you need to practice. Now let's move on to languages. We know that programming language is just a way for us to communicate to the machine, but actually there are so many languages there, right? And how they are classified in different levels, or we call the layers. Depends on the complexity, depends on how it is easier for us to understand and write. So at the lowest level is the machine languages, which is in binary form. We will say that 010101, right? So this is called the machine language, and it is run and executed by CPU. Our target is everything we write in Python, in C or something, need to be finally converted to machine languages so that a CPU can run, can understand. CPU cannot understand anything except 0 and 1. All right. So on top of this one, we have another layer of language we call assembly languages. All right. So this one are those that will combine different set of language and keywords, everything to convert into a more understandable language. But it's still very tough for us to write, use this to write in a very big program. And because of that, later on, in a modern time here, we have so many different other language we call low, high, or very high level languages. So the language we are using these days is Python or C or SQLs are packed under this last class. They are very similar to human languages. They are easy for us to read and write, but in behind the scene, when you write one line of code, there are many assembly instructions and many things that happen behind the scene. I call it behind the scenes because the built-in compiler, the built-in assembler will do a lot of work behind the scene for us to make sure that it converts whatever we write into a machine language. All right. So where is C sit in on this on these three layers? Where is this? Is it a low or high or very high languages?
Yes, low, high, very high level.
High.
Yeah, C is about middle level. All right. C is not a high level language because it's required you to define a lot of things. It works very close to machine because you can have a lot of way to control the memory, control the way the microprocessor works, and it is work closer to the system. And I understand that at least 3 programs here I work with hardware later on. Subsequently, EDA, EPE, ESEs, right? You are working with a lot of hardware. At least for SPE, you're also working with sensors and hardware. That's why C is the right language for you to balance between the soft and the hard side of this technology. So why I say C is a middle level language because let us combine. I will show the example later on. But before we move on to that, the last thing I want to highlight to you is, as I shared before, in order for us to make sure our program can understand from the low or high or very down to machine language, we need first layer is a compiler and the second layer is assembler to convert this. Okay, yes, whether C is a high or low or middle, it really depends on how we see it. But if we say that Python is a high level language, then C should be one level below because Python is a more abstract language and we don't need to do a lot of setting in the beginning. So I'll get a benchmark here. If we say that Python is a high level language, programming language, then C is much tougher for us to learn, stricter, because for example, in this example I show in the screen here, you see that in order to print a line of text onto the screen, we only need to write one line in Python, right? But in C, we need a whole program to define where is that, what library we need to use, and then we need to indicate the end points of the program. So this is why we say that C is a bit lower than Python because we need to define a lot of things regarding the compiler, the assembly later on. But C taking care of everything. The compiler in C, or we call interpreter in Python, will do all the thing for us, and it handle on the low level details, and we don't see it in our program itself. Okay. Yes, but those kind of name doesn't matter because as long as we know that in C that we need to write it in more structured way comparing with Python. Python is interpreter. It understand line by line code and it convert line by line into executor. But C, we need to define the whole program. Okay. Now, as I said, why we learn C? This slide just for your information and your self-convincing. I hope that after this, you can convince yourself that C is benefit for you to get started with, especially for those who doesn't have any background, programming background. So first of all, if you notice in any Windows system, the kernel inside is written on C++. C++ is actually on top of C. It's an update version C, right? So C++ is another language, but it's on top of C. Then any other operation system also runs on C. And any big database system like Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, also the kernel of that is on C. Okay. Second, C is to help our program run faster. In general, the compiler, the compiler, the assembler will run faster. And C is embedded on all the most of the IT firmware. So in any our firmware program, the basic of that is on C. And C gives us a very strong foundation to learn other language. If you learn C, it's easier for you to learn Python. But if you learn Python, it's a bit tougher to go and understand C, unfortunately. So my background is C. That's why when I learn Python, it's very easy for me. Just a different syntax. All right. Second, C is closer to machine because we understand how the memory works. Later on, you understand CPU, everything, and then you can make sure that you can optimize your program. Okay, not a C++ is a higher level than C. No, C++ is another language, but the original is from C. C++ is written in object-oriented. Okay, but C is not object-oriented. So C# and C++ is object-oriented. So the way we structure the program is a bit different. The way we define our program a bit different. The way that it operates a bit different. It's not a higher level. Okay. C, so-called C, the first language, and on top of that, C, people develop C++ for certain purpose, C# for a certain other purpose. Okay. So this is something that for you to reference to, and actually, if you notice, there's a lot of jobs right now when they, if you go for job description, a lot of jobs that specifically require you to have a C programming knowledge. That's why we choose C for you to learn as a first programming modules in SIT. So, okay, these are tested or not? No, I'm not testing. There will no testing content for this set of the slides until now. It just gives you a background, okay? Now, moving to this also, this one is not tested. It just gives you the information that C, first one is one of the oldest language. If you know before, there will be Pascal. If you are old enough, when I was young, I learned Pascal. And then after that, I moved to C. So this C is one of the oldest programming language. But unlike Pascal, Pascal is dead already. No one uses Pascal anymore. But C is still alive now. It's still alive now. It's still developed. And actually, last year, another C version already released. So it means C is still alive today and it still continue to develop because it's the backbone of our innovations. Okay. Now, we have a big taste of what does it mean by programming language and different classification. Of course, that is it debatable to see where is it a low or high or middle. But just know that there's a strict rule of, in terms of programming for C compared with Python. So that's why I say that if you are familiar with Python already, it's a good time for you to unlearn and relearn now. The last thing we want to learn in the first part here is how C programs run. Okay, so by these times, I hope that you guys already make sure get your code blocks installed successfully. Can I check any of you cannot install code block until now? All of you have code blocks ready, right? Because after this, we will start to use directly in this lecture. Okay, so a C program runs in 6 phases. Phase 1 is actually our job. We need to write the code ourselves. So there are many so-called editors for us to use to write C codes. So sometimes it's only the basic editors, kind of like Notepad or Notepad+, or we can use a so-called interactive development environment. And Code Blocks is one of that IDE, integrative development environment. It includes the editor and also the compiler for us to execute the program. So you can use Visual Basic, also you can use Eclipse, but they are more complex. But the Code Blocks is chosen because it's very easy to use. That's it. If you are familiar with others, you are free to use. But in the class, in the labs, the demonstration, everything will be done through Code Blocks. Okay? Now, after we write the code, we will save it as a .c file, and then when we send it over to the next phase, the first phase will be preprocessors. It means that the preprocessor will convert all the special so-called keywords into something that macros so that it can be replaced with the macros. And then from there, it will pass to the compilers to check for all the syntax error. And if everything is okay, then it will generate the assembly language. Okay. And then after that, it passed to a sampler to convert everything. After the phase 5, it will generate the execution program. In Windows, it's usually will see the .exe file. Okay, and then if you copy this file into another machine, it just can run on its own. That's how it works. If you don't want, you just leave it there. But exe file is an execution file. You can run it on another Windows system. And finally, if you want to run it, the exe file, actually is a 010101 language already. The exe file actually inside will be at the machine language, and it can be loaded and run by the CPU. Okay. So in code blocks, how is the whole process work? So first thing, we will use the editor to type in our program. Okay. Next, we will have a button in code blocks to build. The build process will do all phase 2 to phase 5 to generate the exe file for us. And if we want to run it, we just click on run. Okay. It's very simple, 3 buttons. Sorry, only 1 button also. Okay. Now let us open code blocks to see how does it look like in code blocks. Can you get your code block ready? So I have it here for you. Okay. I will do it here. Let me see. I need to use code block only a small window like this so that you can still see my slide. Okay. Oops. Okay. Do you see my code block or not?
Can see.
Can see, So this is code blocks when you first open it from the start menu. So how can you open your editor? You go into File and click on New here or Empty File, or you just simply click on this button, New File. Okay, it will ask you to click on Empty File, and it will be like this. So initially there's no name, so that's why it's called Untitled 1. And we can type in. So just now, like for example, let's type in something here. In order for C to run, right? Then it will do something. Let me type in something here. Shall we type in the example just now? I show you this one. Okay. Let me see. Let's type in this one. Right. So let me put up here. Oops. Can we type in this program? Okay, you don't need to type in the command. So what I do is do something here, include, and then space stdio.h, and then, okay, and I have the integer main, okay, and then in here I have print hello. So every program, will start with hello world program, right? And at the end we have the enter and return 0, right? So this is so-called the Hello World program, or the simplest program in every language, a Hello World. Okay, what we do here, now we finish phase 1 by typing a program like this. So in order for us to run this, what we do, we click on this build button. Actually, before we can build, actually we need to save the file first, but because we haven't saved, this code blocks you will prompt us to save it. So when you click on build here, it will ask us to save. So you can save to any location that you want. For example, here for me, I already have a folder. I save in this folder and I give it a name. So you see that immediately it will prompt us to have a .c file. Okay. So I save it and make sure that you have a .c file. So I have demo 01, for example, like this, and save as C or C++ file, and you save. After you save, it's a nice thing to use any IDE because it can detect the language, and and change the color so that we can easily recognize the keywords and those are color setting inside so that easier for us to manage our program. So because I click on build, right? So what does it do during the build process? It will help us to detect the syntax, right? Errors, right? During the build, it will compile and detect syntax error. And because we stuck here, then it cannot generate these files yet. What does it mean by syntax error I have here? Why I said that I have syntax error? See, they say this line 4 here, it doesn't understand this word. That's why it appears in red. And if you notice this one in red, that's if you go to the folder that you use, if you in the folder that you save your file here, I save in engineering 1008, right? I don't have the object file, the execution file yet. I only have the object file because it cannot go until the link file, the link phase yet. So what I need to do, I need to go back here. I make sure that my syntax errors is corrected. So this one, print f, it will be like this. So after you correct it according to this one already, you build it again. Now, you see that? Now I built successfully. There is no syntax error. So for those who are very new to programming, after you click on build and you see something red underneath, there will be the line number here and some message here. It means there will be some error in your code, usually syntax error. So the compiler, the CoreBlocks compiler here will detect syntax errors for us, but it cannot detect logic error. Logic error is the solution error. It cannot be detected by the editor. What kind of project do I create? You need to create an empty file. Just empty file will do. Okay? Now, after you build already, there's nothing happen, right? Because you have never run it. But if you check on your folder, now you have an exe file already. It means that your build process is successfully completed. And you have exe file. So phase 5 is already completed. What you do now, if you want to run this, you just click on the next button here. Run. Now what do you see? What do you see? Do you see something like this? Do you see something like this in your machine? Should be right. So what do? We have hello world text here. Okay, good. So congratulations, you finished your first ever C program. Okay, now this is how you basically use CoreBlocks. So in here you can see the next button here, build and run. It means that you want to build and run at the same time. Build will so-called reread your program entirely and compile a new exe file based on the new text you put in here. So if you change your codes and even you click save already, if you don't click on build, it will not generate a new compile files, right? Whatever it runs, it will depend on the previous compiles. See? So if whenever you make any change to the code, you need to compile the run again so that it can run on the latest version. For example, here, right? If I change this one into, actually this is an error, right? Syntax error for sure. For example, I remove the whole thing here. There's no function, right? But I run it again. Don't click on this one, I just click on run. You still see hello world, right? Why? Because your exe file is based on the previous text. Okay? Get it? So every time you change anything in your program, click on build again. My advice is forget build and run now. Just click on build and run together. Then it will build everything and run again for you. Okay? So just remember this build and run function on together so you don't miss the latest change in your program. Get it? Okay. Yes, this is so there's many things in CoreBlocks that you will explore from now to the end of the trimester, and I'm sure that your program professor will guide you along the way. Okay, so more hands-on practice will happen in the lab. Now, so far, any questions? Just keep asking me to build a file. It means that for those that cannot build a file, maybe you didn't link the library, the compilers into your library. So make sure that you follow on the instruction and specify the compilers also, because it cannot build, it means that the compilers is missing already. Okay, so you make sure that there's some your installation go well, and specify the compilers in your installation. Okay, because we don't have enough time for us to troubleshooting on this software installation. So if you have any software installation issue, you may email to us, or you can check with your program faculty in charge, Sabu or Prof. Siva and me during the lab. Okay, because the lecture is only 3 hours, and we have passed 1 hour already, so we have 2 hours for the 1 hour and 45 minutes left for us to finish the content. Now, so far, any questions? Okay, if there's no question, let's take a short break, 5 minutes bio break, and then we go to our very first C program and understand what is the basic need for you guys to write program. 5-minute break from now to 1:10. Okay? So back at 1:10. So it's quite a long topic. So it's very easy to those who already have programming background, but I think it's a bit challenging, not challenging, a bit quite fast paced for those that doesn't have programming background. So please bear with me. I may go fast, so let me know if you cannot follow, and I can repeat. Okay? All right. So for part 2, we will explore the standard libraries, and we can develop very simple C program. We will go into something very fundamental of programming, which is data types and variables. Then we learn how to use memory, input, output, and finally the arithmetic operations. Okay. Now, let's get started. First of all, before I go to anything details, I hope you guys understand what is the basics of any program, not just C program. So for any program, in order for us to give instruction to the machine, right, we need to give inputs. It will take in something, it process, and it deliver something, right? So the input, usually a standard input for C is from keyboard. So the machine will get input from keyboard. So it's a main way for us to communicate with the machine. Then the machine will do something according to the program that we write. If we we ask it to do a summation, it will do the summation for us. If we ask it to do some sine, cosine calculation, it will do for us, right? And then if we ask it to, and it will generate the output. And then we will ask it to display the output to the screen, or it will transfer the output to any other program or to any other system. It's up to us. But basically, in the nutshell, when we start, please remember for me that the standard input is from keyboard. Standard output is to the screen. Okay? Not other source. And then output, if it cannot perform the process that we ask it to do, it will put an error message also. So on the errors stream also, so up to us to customize this. And in order for us to do to work out the processes that the program will do, we need to actually instruct it in very detailed way. And many times we need to write the functions like the instruction to the machine, right? And many times that this is functions already developed, and it's stored under standard libraries. So in a nutshell, what the standard libraries is a pre-written functions. And because we are new to C, we are new to any language, so we should not write everything from beginning. We shouldn't reinvent the wheels, right? We just need to use the pre-written functions that are usable for our program. But before we can use it in C, we will need to declare and borrow the libraries so that the compiler can understand where do you get it, what libraries do you need in your program. It doesn't it is not similar to Python when you don't need to declare anything, take and use. In C, you will need to declare first. I will use this library, that library, okay? So some of the standard libraries we will use in this course are these two: standard input, output, okay? So standard I/O. So these libraries will include all the functions for us to handle the inputs and outputs. like printf function need to we pack under this library. That's why we'll need to put a word include standard.h standard io.h in our program previously. Okay, if you want to use any very complicated math function, it's already developed and packed under the math.h library already, so you don't need to redo it. Okay, there are many other libraries that you can use. Depends on the complexity of your problems. Okay, so you can refer to this link to have a full list of libraries. This is for advanced. Those that want to develop very complex program, you can refer to this. Many times that the function you intended to write is already inside the libraries. You don't need to do it. You just need to know how to use it, meaning that what parameters you need to put in, what the output it will explain for you. Okay. Now, so to summarize this slide, I would say just want you to remember that first, standard libraries are something that are already given to you. It includes a set of rewritten functions, and you need to declare it before you can use, especially in C. Okay, you cannot take and use directly. And please check out for functions in standard libraries before you want to develop any new functions, because you may got it directly there already. Okay, now with that basic thing, we will go into our very first program. So in this program, what we want to do, the objective of this program is to print a message onto a screen, so-called a line of text. Welcome to C like this into the screen. What I want to see is this line of text. Let me see. What I want to see is this line of text will display onto the screen, including the exclamation mark. And after the text, the cursor will move to the next slide. Okay? And this is a solution for this. If I given this objective, this task to do, this will be the program I will write into C so that we can achieve the objective, both objectives. And this is the result that I get. This is taken from the textbook, example textbook. You read it, very easy to understand, right? Now, let's write it in code blocks, line by line like this. You open your code blocks again. You can keep it like this also, and you can continue. I want to have the same thing, like the same text similar to line by line. So here we have slash figure space figure .2.1 figure 02-01.6. Okay. Now what I have here slash our first program in C. Now I leave and then line 3 will be include, and then I leave line 4 empty. Line 5 will be another something function man. And is it man begins program execution. Okay, man, and then this here void. Okay, and then here I have this. We don't have return. I will explain later on. And under here we have print f, and then we have welcome to C. At the end we have set column. Okay, this one will be and one. Okay, what do we need to do next to run the program? Which one?
Build and run.
Build and run, okay. Build and run. If I delete this one, this semicolon here, what will happen? Can you guess? Error, syntax error, right? So remember in C, in order to end any statement, you need this semicolon. Okay? Let's try it. If I build an error, can it run or not? Cannot, It said that expected at line 8 here, expected a semicolon. See this? Now put it back here and then build and run again. I have virus scanning and I cannot change the thing, so it's quite slow in my device, but I hope that it could be faster in your device when the result come out. Okay, so that's what you have here. So you have an empty line and move on here. Next thing, it will be here. Welcome to C. Okay? And the cursor will move to the next slide after finish. Okay? Has anyone successful? Okay, how come we don't have return one? I will explain it later. Very good question, Mark. I will explain it later. Okay. So I hope everyone can have successfully run the program like this.
Prof, is the execution time supposed to be like 60 plus seconds?
60 plus seconds means that you may have something underlying. The virus scanning, usually the virus scanning is causing issue.
Oh, okay.
You need to set exclusion in your virus scanning. I can't set it in my device because my virus scanning is centralized. I cannot set it.
For real, bro. For real.
Okay, so that's why I have
Prof.
1 second something here.
Rough query.
Usually very fast, but I cannot change my virus setting, my virus scanning setting. Sorry. Okay. Now, if everyone, what do I choose from here? What is it mean? Is it about installation mean? I can't see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jin Hao. Thank you, Benjamin. Now, if everyone already successfully run this program, let's close it and go back to other slide. And we can go through one by one, line by line to see what does it mean by all the thing here, 9 lines of codes here. So this one is very simple because you have only 9 lines of code, right? Basically, in any so-called application, it can contain about like thousands lines of codes. One of my programs is about 10,000 in one class. In one class, it can be 10,000 lines. So we have a few class. So basically, this one is tiny. It's like a sand in the ocean, in the sandwich level. But it's a good starting point for us. Okay. Now let's move on to the next slide to understand what does it mean by every single component in our program. Okay. Next thing. First on, we say command in C. Why this come first? Because you see in the first line here, the first 2 lines, that one is called commands. Commands or comments, okay? Comments in C. So every program, we usually put in comments like this. Yes. Yes, it is a good habit to add in comments in every line, of course, and especially for SBE program for your project, it is required to put comments in every line of code, and there is a mark on location for that. Okay, it is good for everyone, especially for you. Later on, you will understand. Oh, why do I put the function here? What does it mean by this? Okay. So although comments is not affecting the execution or the result of your program, but it is a good habit, and it what does the void do? If you know, go through the slides before already, you know that I will cover the void later on. Okay, so this slide is basically about commands, and one thing I would say for you is remember key things you need to remember. All of this one is very detailed, but key things I want you to remember that commands are just explanation for humans, not for machine. It doesn't affect your program, okay? But it's a good habit for us to include in comments in your program because it allows us to understand what we meant before when we write the code. Okay? So there's 2 ways for you to put in any comment. Where is my cursor? There are 2 ways for us to write a command. We can use this, the 2 slash here, or the slash with a start, and put in between and also end of this. Okay, so let's go back to code blocks and see whether we can use this. So right now, for these 2 lines of code, right, I use slash, double slash. Okay, now how we can change this? We just put this one into a star. Suddenly everything becomes comments, right? Different colors. Now how to change this? And with a star and a slash. So whatever between these 2 characters here, star and end here, will be comments. Okay, now easy, right? So whatever you do, just now, if I don't put a comment, hello, this is my first program. If I don't put any slash there, will this one cause any issue to my program? Yes, because it will read it as some kind of code. Let's build it to see whether there is any issue. Yes, there's a lot of issue, right? There's an syntax error line 12 here. But if I change this one into comment, I build a ren, again, there's no issue at all. See, there's no effect to our program. That's what I mean by comments. Now, code block tips. How do you quickly change something to comments and change it back? This is a shortcut for you. So some tip for you when you use Copilot, right? If I want to change everything here back to, I can, for example, this, okay? This one is, oh, sorry, what is it here? Okay, if I want to change this one back in, sorry, if I want to change the whole thing here to comments, what do I do? Control Shift, select the text here, Control Shift C, everything into comments. Or if not, you change it back. If you want to change it back, Control Shift X. So it's very useful for you if you write a whole line of code and you notice that you don't want to execute it, you try another way to do. So it's very time consuming if you go line by line and add in this line by line, right? So just use this function faster for you. That's it. Some tip for you. Can we move on? All right, let's move on to the next thing. Comments in C done. Next thing, what do we see in the next slide? Include the standard libraries. As I said, this one is very crucial if you want to use any standard function, the built-in function, you need to declare. So what does it mean by this? This line 3 here is for us to include all the headers of standard libraries before we can use. Without that, it will cause error. You will not understand. The compiler, the assembly doesn't know what does it mean by printf, the scanf, or anything. So you need to include this so that it can understand that, oh, the printf is, we read back in this library and we extract the code of this function from there. Okay? So we basically, what do we need to do? We just need to include this keyword include and with the library headers here, .h will do in between the brackets like this. Okay? So what are the key things for you to remember in this? Click the include standard.io.h. It tells the compiler that you bring the tools for the input-output functions. If you include .h, math.h, it means that include on the tools for math functions and other, so similar to other standard libraries. You need to include one by one. Okay? So what is the tip for you to use code blocks? If you want to have some recommendation of the keywords here, or some make sure that you use the same keywords here, the correct keywords, you should save your file before you start to write. I tell you, please build this good habit because it's very useful. Let's go to code blocks. Now, you see this? Can you see my code blocks now? Okay. Now, if I start a new file, empty file again, initially when I start live, it doesn't appear anything for me. Doesn't have any different colors, right? Because I start a new file, I never save it as C yet. So the editor, the compiler here doesn't understand the C language syntax here. So if I save it first, save 5 as, for example, here I put demo2. Give it a name, demo2. Remember to select CC file here and save. Okay, after you save it already, then you start to type. Now I start with the hash. Immediately give us a list of keywords for us to choose. So you can click on include. See that? The block tips is for you to follow and write. So some of the element in the slide was not so-called visible for you because it's somewhere something that those that attending the lecture will have more advantage than those that not attending. Okay? Okay? Now, if you save it already, it's very easy for you. And then when you do this, you can see when I start to type this one, it will drop down the list for me to select already. So I just type in here, standard See that? And then just type. Easy, right? But if you don't save it before you type, the code blocks will not understand what language you are using. It cannot recommend you. So key tip here for you is, that's why I say save your program as .c file before you start your editing. All right, let's move on.
Can
Yes.
I ask a question regarding the include Studio H? Can we also use multiple hashtag includes?
Yes, you can include for this, but multiple hashtag, for example, include another one. This means I use multiple library. Later on along the way in week 3 and 4, you start to use this library. You will start to use this library. So if you want to use anything, you need to define it like this. Include, so on and so forth. Okay? Every time it read the word include here, it understand that this one will be a header file. And if you go to this header file, it will get on the macros inside and include it in combine with our program. This is how it works, how the machine works. Okay. So if you want to use multiple standard library, just list it out at the very beginning of your program. Okay. Then you will be safe. Now let's move on. Yes. For now, you need to remember to include this, at least this one at the beginning of any of your program. Because in any of your program, you will need to use printf, at least printf or scanf. These two function as a part of this library, standard input-output. That's why you need to declare. You cannot borrow and use without telling the machine that, without telling it. This kind of like you need to tell the owner that I'm borrowing your code, this kind of thing. Okay, so for now, just remember this particular line in your line 1 of your program. Those that doesn't automatically show mean that you haven't saved it as a .c file already. Okay, if you save it as a .c file, it will automatically have a drop-down list for you. So you need to go File, Save As, and then it will save as C file, then it will recommend for you. Now, let's go back to the slide here. The next slide for us is, the next slide is empty line, right? So the next thing we need to analyze here is blank lines and white space. Okay, these are the blank lines. So will it affect our program or not? Similar to comments, it doesn't affect our program. Okay, it will ignore, but same thing, it will make us it will let us read it easier. So it's a good habit for us to leave space between chunk of codes, leave space between operators so that we can read it easier. But in terms of performance, it doesn't affect anything. Okay. So similarly, similar to comments, white space is for us to read the program, and it will not affect the performance of the program. Okay. Now, actually, the entire program there can be written in 2 lines like this. You want to try this? Okay, let me try this one. Copy into CodeBlocks. Okay, I have this one. Same thing. Similar, right? Let me see. Smaller here so that you can see similar thing. So I have a same line of this one. The whole program, just now I have 9 lines. I can condense it, consolidate it into 2 lines. And I can run as a similar, having the same result. Here, my result just come. See? But if I write everything like this, is it easier for you to understand the program? Compare between this and this, which one is easier to understand? So this demo tool is to show you the power of blank lines and white space for readability, especially for bigger programs. Okay, so the tip for you is, please keep the blank lines between functions, and also put a space between operators, around operators for us to read easily. And then if you want to format the codes, for example, your code is like this, right? If you want to format it back into a nice format, you can use Control A here, and you can go to blogging, and let me see source code. It will format it back for us. Okay, so it's nicer, neater, easier to read, right? So this is some small tip for you to use CodeBlocks in a more effective way. Now I Ctrl Z like this. Very tough to read, right? I just select all, click on blocking, source code formatter, and start. We'll do it for it. You need to remember on the words by word for.
Can you show that again?
Okay, Ctrl Z, back, right? You select the whole thing, whatever thing that you want to format. Blockings. Under here, source code formatter. Nice, right? Okay. All right, let's move on. Okay, exam. Anything for now, I suggest you let it easy with exam and assessment. It will come in time. Don't worry about that yet. So we will make early announcement for you. No worry about exam and assessment right now. Okay, focus on setting the foundation. When your study is good already, don't worry about exam. You'll get A easily. Okay, but we test both knowledge and skills. Basically for all exam, any exam, knowledge, concept, and skill. It means you need to have a programming skills. Yes, the lecture is already recorded, and then you can watch it back later. But trust me, I don't see many students watch it fully. You cannot spend another 3 hours to go through the lecture again. Okay, so get back to the slide. So remember to put blank line between functions so for you to read it and also space around operator. So this is my common good bad practice when I do programming. Okay, just a little to share with you. My background, if you check on my profile, my background is not programming. I'm not IT. I'm from civil engineering, and everything I learned about programming from C to C# to Python to SQL, everything is self-learning. So I can do it. You guys can do it also. Now, second, the next thing which is very important for C is the main thing for C is a main function. So which one is main function? This portion, the whole thing is called main function. Okay, it includes quite a number of things inside it. So first of all, we need to understand that main function is compulsory for every C program. It is used to determine the starting point of a program. And you need to have it in this format, integer, main, with or without void is okay, and with curly brackets, open and close to indicate the body of the function. Now, as I said, any C program need one and only one main function. It cannot have multiple main functions in one C program. It cannot have zero main function in C program. So for C or C#, C++ later on, you need a main function. Okay? Now, what does it mean inside in terms of this? Because it's a function, later on in week 6, you will learn about user-defined function. You will learn how to write your own functions. So now, it's a bit tough for you to get it, but just a basic idea that it's a function. So function can return different values, and the main function basically as default, it returns integer, so that we need to start from integer. And then the name main is the name of the function, and this is a key thing. You cannot have any other name, so you need to write this. And then void here, it doesn't take in any parameters, input parameters. So some functions can take in parameters like some numbers, some text, some files, or it can take in any other things. But this main function doesn't need any parameters for it to run because it indicates the starting point of the program. Anything in between the curly brackets here is called the body of the main function. So anything that you want the machine to execute will be in between these curly brackets. That's why the printf function needs to be packed inside these two curly brackets. And then later on, we don't have return here, right? Okay. Control to turn on and off commands a Control-Shift-C and Control-Shift-X. Now as I said, we cannot have many multiple mains. The key thing you need to remember is main is one and only one. One and only one. Okay? For C. And someone asked me about return 0. I didn't have return 0 here. Initially, when the older version of C, we need to write a return 0 here at the end of main function. But when they develop C, now the newer, the more modern compilers doesn't need us to write it because if it doesn't detect it, it will add in for us. But as a good practice, you should include it. Okay? So basically, this is all the things inside a main function. Now, to answer that question about multiple things, okay, main function is starting point of C. So C can have only one starting point. And tip for you to remember here is C only have one main function. Again, one main function only. And if you want to write so many programs, you start different files to have different main. So I pause here. Any questions? Okay? Any questions? Can we don't use void? Yes, can, because those things that, but you need to have the bracket here because it's the syntax. So you don't need to use the word void. Just try it out. So from now, right, learning programming is about experiment. But the nice thing is you do experiment with computer. So you just need to do this. also. Run it. Doesn't matter, right? Try it out. It's the best way for you to know anything is try it out. When we were young, we play and we learn. When we get older, we ask and we learn. Why? Just try it out and learn, okay? So void here is for us to make the things the function clearer. Not about that doesn't need void. Actually, the compiler will do the job for us, similar to the return 0. Just now I do that demonstration, right? In your program, it's up to you to use void here or not, up to you. Because the compilers will add it in later for you. But as a good practice, I will write void here. Whether you get the deduct mark in your exam or not, no. Okay? Clear? Because your program still run, doesn't have any issue. Now, next thing will be the last element inside this main body is the printf function. So printf function is actually belong to, so printf belong to which library? Which library does it belong to?
Standard IO.
Yes, very well, very good. Standard IO, that's why, because we use printf, that's why we need to declare here. If we don't use printf, we don't need to declare anything, okay? But because we use printf, and we need to declare that standard IO in. Now, printf is a built-in function, and it will just do one thing for us, is to display something onto the screen. On the screen for us. It can display text, number, result, anything to the screen because the screen is a standard output. So printf to display the output to the screen. Okay, that's why it's packed under standard IO. Now, next thing you need to remember is because we are displaying a line of text like this, right? This is a line of text. Any line of text needs to put in between these two quote signs. Okay? So this is syntax. You see these two quote signs here and here. Okay. Now, what about this? Even when I type in this one, we don't see any backslash and when in your result, right? In your output, right? What does it mean? So this backslash is actually called the escape characters. It helps us to format the output. You will learn more about this when we come to week 5 when I teach you about formatted input output. But for now, you just need to know \n is for us to add a new line characters, mean that we move the cursor to the next line. That's it. So sometimes you want your output will be line by line nicely, right? That's why you need to include the \n. Now, so printf, the tip for you to remember this slide is this. If you notice on my slide, is actually this one is a tip for those that are very new to programming can have a quicker way to remember the context. Okay, printf show the text on the screen. \n is to control the display, and in this case, we move the cursor to the next line. So what is here? Remember, \n doesn't show any text. It moves the cursor to the next line. Okay, so we have a list of escape sequence for us. Things we learned about is \n is a new line. We can have all other things here. And this is example for you to see what is the result. So what your job to do after the lecture, try out on this on Codeblox. We can try it out now. Let's open Codeblox, try 1, 2 here. So I have \n, right? Let's see what happens if we don't have this. So let's see first. Now, the result here, right? We run it, you see the result again with the \n. What result like? Here we see that. Welcome to C, and it move the cursor here and move the cursor here. One empty line here, and it bring the next thing, right? Now, without this, let's see the difference here. Run, build and run again. The semicolon is the indicator of the end of a statement. See, without the \n, there is no gap between this and this. It means that the next thing, the cursor is continue at the end of the code. Okay? Easier for you to do this also is \n, and you do like this. I will do the example here. Now, hello world. Okay, if I don't have the \n, what are the result I have? Hello world is one in one line, right? Hello world in one line. Now, if I have the \n in between, what does it have? What do we have now? See that? Hello, and next line, and it bring the the space here because of this space. See that? So this is to show you the effect of \n. So you can use any other, you can try out other sequence escape also. For example, like if we have \t. So \t is a horizontal tab, right? So what does it mean? What do we have here? Build and run again. Now, you see that? Hello, and the big here, the big gap here, and word. So how big is the gap? Up to your system. So it is the built-in settings in your system that the tab width. It depends on the scale of your screen also, the resolution of your screen also. Okay, so it's very different from one machine to another. It really depends on internal setting, but it means that it will give the gap between the two words exactly similar to the width of the tab. That's it. Now, at home, you try out other escape sequence to see the effect. Okay? Sorry, cancel. Now, so we go back to this. The key thing for you to remember is these are the special character and we use to format the output. What do you need to remember? Do you need to remember it? I'm sorry to say yes, at least the first few up to here. Okay? But actually, you don't need to remember because the more you use it, then it automatically go into your brain already. So you can remember it, memorize it by practice. Okay, and that's it for the first ever program. I have covered line by line, all together 9 lines in the program already explained to you. Okay, any questions? Any questions so far? 8, 5. What does it mean by 5? I'm sorry, I'm not Gen Z, sorry. I'm Gen X already, so sometimes I don't understand your language. Oh yeah, 5 minutes break. Yes, 5-minute break. Let's come back. I give you 7-minute break actually. Let's come back at 2. Okay? We do have quite many things to cover later, so do come back at 2. 7 minutes break. Come back at 2. Back at 2:00. What does return 0 do? It will tell the machine that the main function, the program runs successfully.
Rajan, I think close it already. Yeah. Holy shit.
I'm sorry? Alex? Okay. Void and return 0. Void, you are a bit confused about it, understand, because you never learned about function yet. So for now, I believe that when you go to week 6, when you start to learn about functions, your own functions, then you can understand more about this void and return. So for now, my suggestion for you is remember the key things in the main function. Void and return, actually internally you don't need it to write it also. It doesn't affect the result of your program because the compiler will add it in automatically for you. Okay? Right now, just now, I remove the void and remove the return. I still have the same result, right? Okay, but as I said, it's a good habit to write this because it will help you to learn the functions later, easier. If your Ctrl+Shift+C doesn't work, you need to go down here to see if there is any setting here or not, any shortcut already setting or not. Because we have it here because usually the shortcut is already setting. Otherwise, you can always go under edit and under comments and uncommented. When I build and run my program, nothing is happening. Is it too fast for you to see or something? Do you have Sadiq? Do you have the exe file? I believe that there's some setting in Cortex and C when you install things. Evelyn, are you using a Mac? Terminal in Cortex. Okay, if it's closed, just go to the Start menu and open it again. We're using Windows. It's just simple application. You just need to open it again. Or if it is stuck, then you go to Task Manager, close it because sometimes it's stuck inside your execution inside, and you need to go to Task Manager, close it, force it to stop, and then run it again. In order for you to open any file, right? Like, let's say I open this. I close this already. Now, how do I open my previous file? Just go to File and Open. Sorry, just click. I click on something. Or click on Open button here, and you click on any file that you have. So just now, I have 2 files, right? So which file do you need to click on? Click on the C file, and it open up the program for you. So it's very similar to any other application you have been using, like Word, Excel or something. So you have new, open, save as, something like that. So you can explore this toolbar, okay? That doesn't work means that did you select the text or not? Because if it's work, it will be like this already. So if it doesn't work means either you have to choose the text that you want to convert into comments, or something wrong with your code blocks. I'm sorry to say, because basically it needs to be there. So remember to select the text that you want to convert into comments, then select it and click on edit comments. Okay, to redo, Control Z. Similar to Word, right? In Word and Excel, or in any Office software, Control Z to go back previous step, right? Also in code blocks, you also got Control Z. Or this one, redo and undo, similar to other software. Okay. Now let's go back to the slide. 7 minutes finished already. So back to the slide. So you know now, by this time, I hope you know how to write a simple program to display something to the screen, right? Now let's go into something more complex so that we can write more complex program. Before we move on to one of the very fundamental concept that I need you to get is the data types in C. So machine is not as smart like us, right? We will need to tell it different type of data so that it will know how to handle different type of data. It doesn't know, it will not be automatically recognize this and this, okay? So in terms of data, for programming language, these are common data type that we usually use. First of all, basically in data, right? In terms of data, there are 2 things: text or numbers, right? Letters or numbers, so-called letters or number. If you look at your keyboard, basically you have numbers and letters, right? Characters and numbers. So for numbers, we have different types to store different type of numbers. So if you want to store the whole number, it means that you will refer to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you will use integer. Integer is a whole numbers. To store only whole numbers. And the memory size for this, now I will not go to the memory size, just for your information only. So first one, you just need to remember, if you want to declare anything or use anything as an integer number, you need to declare it in integer type. Now, if you want to use anything that's, for example, only positive value, for example, age cannot be negative, right? Then you need to put in unsigned integer. It means that this one is non-negative. Now, if you want to declare this one is for example, like decimal number, and you have 2 data type, you can use float and double. And then for character, single character like A, B, C, D, E, F on your keyboard, you can have character. And void finally is a no. This means there's no data. So sometimes you see that void in the main function is mean no data type. Okay, usually used in main void only. So this slide is for you, just give information for you to have a basics before we move to the next slide when we talk about variables. So just remember, unsigned is for non-integer, non-negative. Integer is for whole number. Float and doubles is for decimal numbers, and character is for single. Char or CHAR is for character, a single character. Okay. Now, with this basics, we move on to the next thing is variables and memories. The reason we need to know about data types because it linked to memories. and variables. So in C, before we can, if we want to have a memory slot to store certain value, you need to declare it first. So variables is something if you can imagine it, it's like a named storage in the memory, in your RAM, in your memory, sorry, not in your memory, in the program memory, in the computer memory, in RAM. So if this storage will have a name, the type, and it can store the value and the location of the memory. Okay, so there's a few rules for us to name a variables. It can include letters, digits, but it cannot start with a digit. And it is sensitive, case sensitive. It means that this one, wait a minute, where is my cursor? So this score is different from upper score. A score with uppercase S will be different from score with a lowercase s. In C, it will consider these two variables different. Okay? So how you declare a variable in C? For example, I want to declare in numbers with integer, the whole number. So I need to come with first element, we need to declare the type of the data. What data type? Second is a name. So integer is kind of a keyword here. You need to follow exactly int is for integer. So when the compiler recognizes it, understand that I need to set aside a storage so that I can store whole number. Okay? And this storage is named number. So I can name it in another way. You can name it your name also. Okay, so I come up with this kind of analogy for you, just for you to easily get it. So in order to remember or understand variables, just think of it as a container. The container can store a specific type of things inside it only. Okay, so an integer container can store only whole numbers. A character or char container can store only single character. Okay, and this container has a name so that it can be referred to, and whatever things put inside it is the value of that variables. That's it. Okay, got it? So before you can use any variables, you need to declare it, because variable is kind of a memory slot for us to store any value that can be from the user input or can be generated along the way of the program execution. Okay, so in this case, after I write this code, integer numbers equal to 42. Actually, there's a lot of things happening behind it. When it read the let me see. When it reads the first thing here, right, integer number, it will create a container with integer type first and give a name as numbers. And then the second portion here, it do assignment operators assignment. Now it will put the value 42 here into the container, put it inside. Okay? So if I put another one, if I put number equal to 50, I will replace the 42 with 50. So every time I assign a new value to these variables, it will take a new value. That's it. Get it? Now, later we have some examples in the program, and you can get the context easier. Now, let's move on to next thing. Okay, sorry. Before I move on to this, the next one is input and output. Any question regarding variables or not? Will I be running whatever I'm doing today in the lab? Of course not. Why do we need to repeat ourselves twice when you have the recording? Right? As I said before, lectures is for concepts and example only. Then during the lab, you really do hands-on practice with the questions that are already given to you by your prof. So if you are under my programs, SPE program, I believe that I already upload a few questions with answer for you to practice. And in SPE program, usually I will do a recap, very quick recap, in the beginning of the lab session. Then we will continue with the questions in the labs. So for you guys, please check your LRS side at your program of the course side of your program to get the questions for the labs of your program, because it is very lab specific. We need to design the questions related to the program that we have handled. So EDE student will have different questions. SPE student will have different questions. Okay, that's it. Now, from back to the slide, back to the lecture here, we have finished data types, we finished variables and memories. So all the things on the background here for us to understand basically this line of code. So any questions so far? As is, I will meeting you guys tomorrow, and don't worry. I do have a lot of practice for you. I just afraid that you cannot finish all. So SBE student, I'm meeting you tomorrow afternoon, okay? Now, if you don't have any further question, let's move on to the next two things is we talk about input and output. So as I said before, in C, the standard output is to the screen, on the screen, and standard input is from keyboard. And in order to print out anything to the screen, we use a function printf. And to read in, this one, let me see. And to read in anything from the keyboard, we will need to use the scanf. So this is the two basic functions for you. Now, what does it mean? How to use a printf? So printf, in this case, you keep seeing this already, right? This line is, for example, we printf hello world, bringing the text directly the text onto the screen. But if we want to print a variable, we can include it inside the printf also. So in this example, for example, we declare a variable and we assign the value 1 to this variable a. And in the printf statement, how we do it? We will include it by why I can't choose this. And in the printf statement, we need to include the %d and at the location that you want to replace the value of a into this. Let me have this one up. So what does it do? Oh, sorry, don't see. What does it do here? With this %d here, right? It will take the value and we have a here, right? What the printf will do? It will refer to the value of a into this location. Because a is an integer, that's why you need to use %d. So right now, you just need to remember if you want to print out a value, a variable with an integer value, use %d. More % something will be covered in lecture 5. Now, after it notice that %d is one of the keywords here, then it will notice that, oh, I will have a integer value here. I will read it from some memory. This is how it works. Percentage is to bring something from the memory. Get it? What memory it will read? Name A here. Okay? And it will retrieve the value stored in this memory of variable, which is 1. So the output will be 2 days is day 1. Okay? And try this. Get it? This is, again, percentage is to tell the program that print out the value stored in the memory. And the memory slot is actually the variables, right? And what name is it? What the name of the memory slot? A. And it will go to A, get out the value currently stored, which is 1, and replace that into this one. Okay? Now let's try this in C to see how this works. Okay? Where is it? Where is my course block? Where is my course block? Okay, let me see here. Now, is it? Now, bring F. For example, here, integer A equal to 1. Now, today is day %d, and then here, comma A. Okay? I don't have backslash here. It's okay because I don't want to bring the cursor to the next slide, right? I can run it. Build and run. Yeah, this is the result I get. It will take 1 and put in directly into the location position of D. Get it? So this is how we can use printf to read a value from a variable. And this is syntax you need to remember. After this, to code side, you need to have a comma and give the name of the variable. That you need to remember. So this all is the syntax, this one. After the code side, comma, and the variable name. Okay? Now, what if I use something here? For example, I declare B, but I say A here. Will it print out anything? it will say that it doesn't understand this because it's an undeclared variable. See that? So that's why I say for variables, you need to declare before you use. Okay? Now, if I just declare in A like this and I print it out, what happened? Will it has any syntax error or not? I declare B with 1 and I have integer A. I declare the variables for A already. It will not have any syntax errors because everything is nicely right. I declare before I use, but it will just print out any random number that's stored in the memory. That's it. So somehow it's the 16. I don't know. Okay? So this one is called logic error. It's not syntax error. Okay.
Prof, so meaning that you don't put any number, it just random generate one.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay? So key thing about variables, you need to declare before you use. By declaration, you need to include the type of the variable, the name, and finish the statement with always finish the statement with a semicolons. You can choose to assign the values to it, or you can get the value from the screen, also from the keyboard, or from the user through the keyboards. Okay, I will show it later in the slide here. So if you want to get some input from the user, the standard way is through the keyboard. Of course, you can get it from a file from other source, right? But at this stage, the standard way for us to get is from the keyboard. So how do you do it? You use the function scanf. Okay. Now, in other, what does it mean by this example? For example, in this case, I declare an integer variable. It means that now I tell the program that prepare for me a memory slot named B, and this slot will store an integer number. Got it? And this integer, it is the memory right now. After this line, it doesn't have any value inside yet, just an empty container. Now, when the function scanf will help us to fill in that container with a value from the keyboard by the user. So after this, the program will wait there until we key in some integer number and it will read in, and it will store inside the memory B. Now, I pause here, important. I have a error, typo errors in my lecture note. I forgot the end character. It's wrong. You need an end character. So in scanf, you need an end character. Why? Right now, you just need to remember just the end character is needed. You understand it more when you go to pointer later on in week 8. All right. We cannot cover everything in one day, right? So right now, the end character means that this will let the machine know the so-called address of the location, the memory. So every memory slot, when you create in the memory, it will have an address, like the house, right? You have an address. Then the AND is an operator, allow the program will get the address of the memory slot and put it into the right place. Like delivery, right? It will put into your house, not your friend's house, kind of thing. So we will learn about it later on when we work on pointer. For now, just remember that include the AND in the scanf before the memory name. Okay? Remember here, because in the first day, we just touched on integer. So remember, %d is used for integer. Quick way for you to remember, what does it mean by %d? For printf, show me this integer value. If you have an integer value, you need to use %d. Okay, and if you're waiting for a integer input from the user, you use %d in scanf. So this two is a so-called syntax of the scanf function. If you ask me why, sorry, I don't know, because we need to ask the author of this function. This is how he wrote it. We just use it, right? And when we use some built-in function, we will need to follow the structure, the rules. You can have your own structure, if own way of doing anything you want in your user defined function. But because we are using something already created, we need to follow the rule. If you ask me why is double quotes and %d and comma and %d or something, it is a syntax structure of this function and you need to follow. In other words, for those that are new to programming, you need to memorize that. That's it. Okay. Now let's see how it works in this. Over this example, let me see where is my code blocks. Now, integer a, huh? Now, if let's say I want to get this value from the user, right? So I just have a message here, printf. Just have a message to the user enter an integer number. That's it. And then usually this good habit I put into next line. And then what I do, I will read in scanf. And then remember to cosine %d. Okay? And I want to put a value that the user just input into the scan and a. Okay? Now, if I want to print 8 here, what value it will print? If I run this code, what value it will be printed out?
Random.
Huh?
Random.
Not random. In this case, no longer random. It is the number that you key in for it. Because it will be waiting for you to put in an integer number. Okay? So in this case, no longer random, huh? It will read in from the keyboard here. So let's run this code and see how it works. So I hate this virus scanning issue here. Now see, it will stop here. Enter an integer number, which is the first message, right? After the first message, it brings the cursor down to the next line because of my \n, and it waits here forever. If you don't give it anything, it will wait here forever. Okay? So what we do, for example, I put in 30 and then enter. Then it will go. What does it bring out? Today's is 30. Why? Because it will read in what we just put in 30 here. It will put into this so-called container. Now, when we do the printf with this, syntax, it will go into this container and get the value stored in it. Now you get the idea how scanf and printf works. After this session, you will need to understand and know how to use printf and scanf because it is standard input-output.
Wait, ma'am.
Yep.
So the value that you input here, right? Is it just retrieved from memory space?
The value it is here is retrieved from memory because we already stored this new value here inside the memory using this scanf function. But if we don't use scanf function, right, it will not store. Or if we store in somewhere else, it will not print. Also, same thing. Now, if I mistakenly put it, I store in B instead of A. Will it print out what I input or not? No, because now I read in, I store in B, in A, but I want to print from A. See that? Now let's see how it works. Now I'm storing B. I'm storing B. Let me put it down with C for you easier. I store in B now. It also asks me to enter a number, right? For example, I put in 36. Enter. So suddenly it's returned to 0. See it? Yeah, but what if you print out B? If I print out B, now you tell it to go to that container and get the result, right? Try it out. Can you guess what if I try this one to print out from B, what value it will print out?
You'll print out whatever you input.
Yes, exactly correct. Now you understand, right? So A and B actually those so-called we use the word variables, but internally just remember it's a memory container. It store value inside. Okay, so it depends on how do you use it, how do you call it, where do you what thing you store inside it. Now let's try this one. If I score in B, okay. Now I run it. Same thing, right? Similar to store in A. But will it bring out one or new value? Because B already have value 1. Will it bring out value 1 or whatever you put in? Actually, it will give you a new one. I will explain it later on next week because we will learn about sequence programming and you understand more. So far right now, what does it do is after you put in this one, the new one will erase the first value, original value. It means that container can store only one value and it take the latest value. That's it. Okay? So if the input is not a number, it will not scan. Because scanf %d here is only read in numbers, integer number. It will wait until it give you a integer number. And if you don't give it an integer number, it again back to print out random numbers again because you don't give it any integer. Get it? So percentage only work with integer. Later on in week 5, you will learn how to read other types of data like floats or like floats or something. Did you include a printf? If you don't include a printf, it will not print you anything. So basically, if you want to print out anything, you need to use printf. If you want to read out anything from the keyboard, use scanf. After today, the things you learn about is only integer. We have other data type also, but how you read, how to print will be extended more in labs and in subsequent weeks. Get it? One thing key things for variables is you need to declare before you use. Declaration of variables need a data type, a name, and then it is like a container. It will store the latest data put into that. It will replace the previous value. Okay? Now, for example, if I do this and then I put another one, b equal to 10, 12. So in this case, what value will be printed out in this case? 12 exactly, because whatever I do, I would give it a new, I put in a new value to variable b already. That is the meaning. Okay? So when we will go into this one more later on when we have the operators later on. So the equal sign here we call the assignment operator. We will assign value 12 to variable b. Okay? Smooth operator. Now, next, if you understand this one, let's move on to the next slide. We are behind schedule a bit now. Oh, okay. For Coplock, scanf and printf, as I said, scanf and printf are the built-in function under standard IO library. So you need to include standard IO.h in your program to use these two functions. Okay. Just now I already show you the example already, right? We don't need to go through on this. All right, so that's why I say integer number, similar to integer A or B. So enter an integer number, and then we do the scan, and the output number is number. Okay, so similar to our program, right? So what do we do? And when the user input a value, it will put that value into the memory, and then it will retrieve that value from the printf here and put out it onto the screen for us. Now, I give you a pause to, articulate with yourself. What does it do by each line of code here? Line 1, what does it do? Line 2, what is it? With all the things that I've shared so far, can you still remember what does it do on this line of code? Line 1, what does it do? Here, line 1, what does it do? I give you a blank table, right? Can you take a few minutes to see whether you can fill this table or not? Line 1, what is it? Line 2, line 3, line 4, until line 8. Can you remember or not? Line 1, what does it do by line 1?
Predecessor directive.
Line 1. Line 1, what is it? Okay, standard library, right?
Standard library to get all the predefined functions.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let me see. Line 1, okay? For scanf, printf and scanf. How about line 2?
Declare main function with void.
Line 2 is a main function, is a starting point of the program, right? Entry point. Line 3?
Formatting? No.
Line 3 is the start of body of the
Body.
main function. All right, start of the body of the main function. Okay. Now, line 4. What does it do?
Integer value.
Declare a integer variable. Okay. I will declare an integer variable. Line 5. What does it do?
Print out the text.
In our text, it is one, right? Included the space before the backslash also. Remember that? And then bring the cursor to the next slide because of backslash n. Okay? Line 5.
Wait for user to enter number, store the number.
Store the value into the number variable, right?
Yes.
Okay, next. 7. Line 7.
And you print the
in the input.
sentence, the input number is %d, then you display the stored variable in number.
Yeah, very good. Okay, lastly, number line 9 and 8, actually the close of the man body, right? That's it. So, someone asked me what no, it's very basic, very basic. We don't ask you this kind of basic question in exam. So, but the thing is, what it here is for you to see whether you can recall what we learned so far and really understand what does it do in a program like this. Right? Can we move on?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, next thing, next slide. We talk about arithmetics. So because we start to work, sorry, I need to erase something here. We will start to work with numbers. That's why we will need to learn about how numbers works in how different how number can be used for different operations of in C. So in C, there's a built-in operators for us to work on numerical values. Okay, and it's very similar to your math. So the notation will be similar for basic arithmetic operators. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus or remainder. Remember, if you divide the integer, usually this one is for integer division. It means it's just take the whole only. I will not take the decimal value behind the whole number before the point. Okay. For example, in this case, if we take 7 integer and divided by 2, the result will be 3. Okay, it depends whether how we use this division. If we use with decimal values and we declare the results as a decimal value, so if we take it will perform like a normal division operator. But if you declare an integer, it will take only integer value. Okay. In terms of sequence, predecessor, so we can have the the parenthesis also. So the parenthesis is the one of the take the highest priority. So you will do it first. Anything in between these two round brackets will be done first, and whatever inside will be left to right. The second rule is multiplication, division, and modulus will be the next one. Next one will be plus, minus, subtraction, addition. All right, and the final operator, see, this one is the assignment. It will assign the right value to the left things. So it will, previously we see that A equal to 1. So it will assign the value 1 to A, which will be on the 1 will be on the right hand side of the equal side, right? So it will take the value on the right hand side assigned to the variable on the left hand side. Okay. Now take a pause on see whether you can work out the value of this. If I have an integer x, so what is the value of this x? Okay, let me change it with here. Integer x. So what is the value of x? If x is integer, if x is an integer, what will be the value of x?
Is it 5?
Anyone else? Any question? Any answer? Sorry, why I need to go back here. Okay. Yeah, this is the result, right? We take what the sequence. This multiplication, division will be first, right? Because this whole thing here will be the same precedence level. So division will be first. So we take 5 plus 5 because 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then on the rest will be repeated here. And 5 plus 5 times 6 is 30 divided by 4. And then next one will be 5 plus, and between the plus and modulus will take the first the priority, right? Then we'll read this one 30 divide take the remainder. Modulus 4 give us 2, and 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay. Any questions? This is tested.
Prof,
This-
so no matter what, right, without the bracket, so it doesn't matter if it's like multiplication or division, right? So you just go from left to right.
Yes. Same precedence, left to right. These two same precedence, left to right. This one is the lowest. The lowest, that's why we take the last one, right? We do everything else and then we assign this one to x. Okay? As a okay. How about this? I just change. I just add this to this curly this brackets here. Is there any change in the result? Yes, give me a new one. You give me a new one. Any numbers?
5.
This 5. All right, because this one take the first, we will do this one, whatever inside this one first. So 5 plus 10, and then 2 times 6 will be 12. Now 5 plus 10 divided by 12, because this is an integer division, right? So it give you 0. And then next, between plus and the modulus take place first. So we need to be evaluated first. So 0, I take the real modulus 4 is 0, and then 5 plus 0 is 5. Okay? Now, as I said, this is tested in all assessment. So better practices and it's very easy for you to practice, right? So just come up with random equation and then you can try it in chord blocks easily. Okay, now let's see whether we can try it in chord blocks like this. So in chord blocks, right? Now we put, now for example, A, right? Now put it A easier. A, huh? Now instead of A, we put x with A equal to 5 plus 10 divided by 2 times 6 modulus 4. Okay, what value we will bring out? Now I didn't follow a very good programming habit, right? I need to put space in between the around the operator so that I can see it nicer. Now, do you have the same result? Remember to print out A, not B, whatever I do, because see, today it is 7 is our result. Okay. Now, if you don't want to have on this integer B, you just put it A and then hit A and then okay, simple. Do it again. So you map all other things into commands, and now you can do this. And it says today is 0, it is 7. Correct? Okay, so this is a way for you to test whether your calculation is correct or not. Now, move on. Let's move on. I think we have a few more slides only. So move on. I give you a example like this. Go back and practice. Okay. So if we'll ask you to write a small program to declare two variables, and then we assign a value to it, and bring out on the result of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus. And how do you plan to do it? Because we run out of time, so I just want to show you this is something that you may have. Okay, to start on, because we use printf, that's why we will have to use the include standard IO here. We start the main function. We declare two integer variables, x equal to 10, y equal to. Then we do the printf, and then we put inside the value here, because the result of these operators on two integer numbers will give us an integer, right? Multiplication of two integer give an integer. Okay, so that's why we have percentage in all the printf functions, and then we can put in the operator inside this. So this is how we do, and this is what the expected result that we have if your program runs properly, successfully. Can you try this one out later on at home? This is one way for you to practice. Get it? Okay. Apart from this, you may have other examples exercise from your lab session also. So do spend time on this. Now, next, the last slide, I think. We have other things. Other operators also is called relationals and equality. Sorry, equality, not equality. Equality operators. Okay. So basically, they are used for comparison, and the result will be 0 or 1. So 0 is false and 1 is true. So usually this one, it will be used in our decision making statement later on when we learn about if statement or loops, while loops, do loop or something next week. We will need to use. So basically, it will compare the two things, left and right of this operator. So for example, I put 5 less than 10. The result will be true because really 5 less than 10. Okay. So this is the operators here, and then it to check whether it is equal or less or more, and then or greater than. Here is to check whether it's similar or not similar. So this is equal to or similar, or this one not equal to. That's it. So this is remember for these operators, the result is just 0 and 1. True or false. Actually, the result is Boolean. We will talk about that later, but the result here is true or false so that we can make decision. Whether it's true, we go this way, or false, we go that way. Okay? Now, next will be one thing for you to remember that don't confuse between these two operators. Single equals mean assignment. I assign a value 5 to the variable A. But double equal sign here means I check whether A is equal to 5 or not. Remember this? So you practice more, you can remember. And lastly, not last, I have a few slides also, but this is the last slide for you to remember already. So one example for you to try out at home is write a C program that read in an integer from the user, and you bring the result of whether this number is greater than 100 or not. What we do? Also the same thing. We declare a variable called number. And how we can get in the user from the number from a user? We need to use a scanf function, right? And then in this case, we will print the result checking this operator, the result of this operator. So the result will be 1. It is true. If we key something that greater than 100, it will give you true. But if you key in something less than 100, it will give you 0. That's it. Try it out at home, huh? So now, so far, we cover the entire content of today's section. Someone asked me like 5. No, we have unlimited store, unlimited break time. Why? Where? Which one? When I put 2, yes. Because it doesn't have anything, we will get the second one, we'll get the random value. If you put 2 percentage, you need to have 2. You need to repeat the numbers here also, and then comma. Then it can take you two values. This one can be you can check out here with your in your lab later on, but it's a bit advanced. So let's work in the lab. So for Sam asked me that 2% percentage, it means that you need to put in another parameters here so that it can reflect in your percentage. Okay, so now if you want to put 2%, it can be like this. Today in and if you put and then percent D again, right? So in this 2% D, it's expected give us, and then for FSB, okay? So you need to do like this so that it can take A to the first one and B to the second one. I believe that the slide, which slide? This slide? 2 slide. This one? Take screenshot if you want. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. Hope you take the screenshot of this one if you want. Now, next is the keywords. As the name, keywords mean that the reserved words for us to use in C that you cannot touch, you cannot use for any other things because it's already predefined in C, the meaning. Okay, we cannot use it for names, variables names, and it's written in the lowercase. So in order for you to have a full list of keywords, this is a link for you to explore. But so far, if you know about on this one already, it's enough for this course. So you don't need to know about others. Okay, last one. Summary. I'm sorry today I am a bit late. I'm targeted to finish by 2:45, but cannot have. So summary, these are all the things that we already learned so far in this more than 2 hours. For those that need a summary, this is a slide for you. And something for you to know that C is very strict. You need to follow the structure, syntax, everything. It's not like easy, friendly like Python. That's why you need to practice. The more you practice, the more you get familiar with it. Let's say for me, right? Sometimes I switch. Only this class I use C, all other class I use Python. So after 1 year, I need to go back and refresh so that I can be familiar with the syntax. If not, I keep switching between the two syntax. Always have like syntax error. Okay. So for you guys, you also need practice. So what we'll do next week, Guys, today is very easy. Easy peasy, lemon peasy, whatever. Today very easy. But next week onward, we'll start very fast pace. We'll learn about structure. We learn about if-else statement. We learn about algorithms. It's more complicated. So please prepare before the lecture. Okay. So what does it mean by that? I will come to this slide. I don't know whether I include this slide in the deck or not, but I believe that you. Yeah, for this course, you will never be tested on Python. No, this course about C programming. That's why I keep telling you that unlearn and relearn. Okay? Now, why I have this slide for you? Because I want to highlight these two things for you. We are in university setting. Majority of your learning is outside the classroom. Okay? So the whole trimester, you only meet us about 40 hours. But this course is 6 credits and equal to 150 study hours. It means that you see that self-learning is 60 hours and another 30 hours is given to you for you to work on your project. So what does it mean by 60 hours here? For me, I will calculate about 5 hours per week for 12 weeks. Given that you don't need to do any catch-up in week 7. So it means that you need to use 1 to 2 hours for lecture preparation, go through the lecture notes, understand it, put down the things that you are not very clear, and you can have questions in class. Second, also spend 1 to 2 hours for lessons. The questions are already given to you way ahead, at least 5 days ahead. For SPE's class, okay, SPE class, you need to do something else also. So I will share with you tomorrow. So for SPE class also today, for this week, I already given you the answer for the questions, but not the same for subsequent labs. I will not give the answer first. We'll work out the answers during the lab, okay? And after the lab, you also need to review and then to make sure that all the concept, all the thing is very clear so that you can handle the next lecture. And especially for C programming and any programming, it built on top of each other. It means that we scaffold up, right? It means if you get lost in the first lecture, try to catch up, because if you get lost in the first few weeks, definitely very tough for you for the remaining work. All right, other resource for those who are very, very new to programming. I found it up to 3 schools is very useful for those who want by-side, so-called by-side examples. Very basic. This one is for those of very new to programming, very basics. Then you can refer to this link to get XPEs. Tomorrow I will explain to you guys. Kantana. All right. So for those who are new to programming, please use this one. There are tons of materials online. You can use like whatever course, anything that on YouTube. A lot of good materials on YouTube also you can refer to. Then for this one is very good for you to refresh your knowledge. And one thing is, for me, I will do my best to release the lecture note of next week in this week, Wednesday evening. So you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days to review it. Okay? Second, if you notice on your exercise, under week 1 to 5, there are 3 things, right? So quiz 1 is already open for you. So every week from only my part, I'm not too sure for roughly parts. I have one little summary quiz for you. It is formative assessment, unlimited attempt, no time limit for you to practice. It will release every Monday, 2:30 p.m. How to access it? Okay, I bring it up for you. Up with you, let me see. See here, sign. Now, if you go to the main class, in here, let me switch to student view, right? Then I will see the same view like you under content. Yeah, you see this one already. Week 5, this one, right? Then you click on this, they'll open the quiz for you. Then just start the quiz. Yeah, you just start the quiz. Oh, why I can't see star? Can you see the star button? Can you try this and see the star button? Anyone can try this? I can't see the star button. I don't know why.
Prof, this is the unlimited try one.
Yeah, it's for you to review the content. That's it. Okay? That's why they call lecture summary quiz. unlimited. Okay? You try it out. That's it for today. No, not graded. Of course, not graded. Form module assessment is not graded. Okay? If nothing else, see
Prof, I can go to the page 25 again. I want to take photo of the task.
which one?
25.
This one?
Sorry, I think it's 26. The one that you asked us to try. Yeah, thank you.
All right. If nothing else, see you next week. SB students, see you tomorrow. Please do come for the first week because there's a lot of important information for you in the first week of everything. Okay, thanks.